Growing up, I loved going to see my grandpa during the summers. He always gave me what I wanted, but most importantly, he gave me a rose every single time I came to see him. But there was something about his house that constantly terrified me. It was the fact that his house was haunted. Late at night, you would hear thumps or a ghastly moan coming from the attic. I would often be afraid, so I would go live with my grandpa. I felt safe with him. He always explained that he had an old house. Old houses came with old noises that would scare most people. But I think that my grandpa believed his house was haunted as well. There were times where we would hear moans in the house and he would blankly stare. He knew something that I didn't know. I told my mom that I no longer wanted to stay at his house in the summer. I loved my grandpa, but spending another summer in fear didn't sound very promising. My mom agreed to let me stay home. She admitted that she used to be terrified of the house when she was younger. She said that she would often hear moans and knocks in the attic, but she was never brave enough to check it out. So I missed that summer. But that summer turned into 2 and 3. And then I just never went back. As I became an adult, I would call my grandfather, but I would still refuse to go to his house. It scared me. But then, the one thing I wasn't expecting to happen, happened. My grandfather passed away. I felt sick. I didn't spend enough time with him. I thought I feared his house, but losing him should have been the biggest fear of all. So my family planned and attended the funeral. With the reading of the will, I learned that he left his house to me. That same house that I was terrified of. But I needed to be strong. This was the house he loved, and he left it to me. I explained to my mom that I needed to go there alone and finally face my fear. I decided to spend a week there, and it would give me time to love the house as he did. I packed up my bag, and soon enough, I was off. When I pulled up to his house, the memories came flooding back. All the beautiful roses that he gave me, but also the smiles we had there. I went inside and decided to do a bit of cleaning. After a long day, it was time to head to my old bedroom. I was exhausted. I laid in bed and started to drift asleep. That was until the moan started, followed by a huge thump. I jumped out of bed and ran to the attic. I needed to be strong. This was my house now, and these ghosts weren't going to keep me from coming here. When I walked inside the attic, it was quiet. I looked around all the boxes that covered the area. As I walked to find the source of the noise, I accidentally knocked over a box. Papers flew out and I went to quickly pick them up. To my surprise, there were a bunch of newspaper articles. I picked them up and started to read. The further I read, the more I grew sick to my stomach. There were news articles of a serial killer. He was known as the Rose Killer because of the roses he would place on his victims. The same kind of rose my grandfather used to give to me. The killer would keep their victims at one location, and once he took their lives, he moved them to another. The killer was never caught. Looking at the articles, the killer was able to get away with it for nearly 3 decades. I was so into the news articles that when I heard a knock behind me, I jumped. I turned and walked towards the noise. There was a door. I slowly opened it, and that's when the shock hit me. A chained up woman stared at me. I couldn't believe this. The grandpa that I knew and loved was a monster. I stared at the woman for a brief moment and then made one of the biggest decisions of my life. I shut the door back. No one could know what kind of man he was. When he gave me roses, I was proud of them. But now, I needed to keep his roses hidden.